Max Igan of the Crow House, and Jeff Berwick, the Dollar Vigilante and founder of Anarchadelphia.
Hey, folks.
So my first question is, what is the future of crypto and anarchy? Start off.
Oh, easy question to start. Well, I just want to say at the start that everything's very complicated. We're living in a very complicated thing right now. And a lot of people are very confused about what's right or wrong at this point. And to make it kind of short here, I think the crypto space can be an incredibly valuable and freeing thing for the world, but only if it's used right. And we'll get into that. But I just want to say I totally understand that some people think this might be a very dangerous thing.
I can agree with that. With cryptocurrency, I think there's been a real fear put out there of cryptocurrency, and there's always been this sort of sidetrack in human consciousness as by what's in it for me. Like I said, most people vote with their pockets. Most people I've found have looked at crypto and they've sort of gone, you know, how much money can I make out of crypto? They've not looked at what crypto could be used for. And at the moment, we've got a window that if everybody were to pull all their money out of the bank and put it into crypto wallets and run off that, we could actually gain control of the system. But while everyone's worried about making money and what's in it for me and what should I invest in and looking at it as something like a stock exchange and personal profit, they're missing the bigger picture of what it could be used for to completely circumvent and deactivate the banking system. But while they're all arguing about all this stuff and in this fear, the IoT is being built over the top, which is what the crypto people, a lot of the crypto people I hear have this dream in their head that we're moving into the world like the Jetsons or something, you know? But everything's just going to be fantastic when it's all crypto. But they're not seeing the IoT and social crediting and all the stuff that's being built over the top, which in that world, it doesn't matter what currency you use as long as it's digital, because it isn't going to be the currency that determines your purchasing power. It's going to be your social profile. And if you can't buy an airline ticket because of a post you put on Facebook back in 1996, then it doesn't matter how much crypto you've got in your wallet. But people are missing the window that crypto is providing to actually deactivate the banking system and thereby deactivate the government. You see what I mean? That's the way I've looked at all this. It's all been misconstrued. There's all these agents that get in there and they infiltrate and they start arguments over details, and people don't see the bigger picture of what the crypto people have actually tried to do with cryptocurrency. And like I said, unfortunately, there's an element within the crypto world that still can't see the bigger picture, that are just focused on what this dream is that they've got, and they want to hold on to that. And they're going to be really shocked when that bubble bursts and social crediting is introduced into their country. But at the same time, you look at what we can do with this technology. What Luke brought to the table with what they're doing in China, with this coordinated protest and stuff. So what we can do with this blockchain stuff and these apps and all this stuff, what we can do with this smart technology if we use it sensibly. But at the moment, unfortunately, the world's run by criminals. So we've got a bit of a problem there. But like I said in the talk yesterday, what this whole movement is about is freedom. And it isn't even a truth movement. That is even a co-opted term that's been put in there, because what is the truth? The truth is subjective. The truth is we don't know what the truth is, because we don't have the freedom to find out. And it's establishing freedom, and crypto is providing this window for us to do that if we're sensible and we look at it from through the right set of eyes.
Yeah, what I'd add to that is that the people who have been controlling the world for a long time control it through a few different means. They control it through information, which the internet has, everything's a double-edged sword. So in some ways, DARPA was involved in the internet. And Al Gore says he created the internet. That's hilarious. But even if they were involved, some of us have taken it and used it to spread information. And we're still doing that. You do that as well. And they're trying to shut us down, but there's always ways around it. The second way that they control most of the people on this earth is through the money system. And we can get into what money is or if it's good or bad. I think in general it's good, but just like anything, it can be used for good or bad. They've mostly been using it for very bad. They've been extorting most of the world and stealing most of the money for a long time and using it to blow up people, to regulate and to control people. The double-edged sword is we can also use it for good. And what you said, Max, and I totally agree, is we do have this window right now. But what it's going to take is for people to start really using crypto, and that's a whole other topic that it'd take a long time to talk about, not just Bitcoin, but things like Monero. If enough people truly want freedom, we can take away their power. And we won't actually have power, but we'll take away their power. If there wasn't crypto, if crypto did not exist, and this is 2019, I'd already be living in a forest. I'd probably be a lot more like Mark Passio. I'd be like, I'm just going off the grid. But I see there's an opportunity. Unfortunately, a lot of people still don't know what's going on. But there is enough of us now that if we start to use these things, we can take away all their power. Because you talk about the social credit system and all that. The biggest problem with anything is government. So if there is a government, which is a criminal organization, and they can use these things, they can really enslave us even more. However, if we really realize our own power and start to use systems outside of their systems, we can take away a lot of their power.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. So that's the answer to the first question.
How about that for the first question? Give them guys a round of applause. That was fucking amazing. You got one? All right, I guess my second question is, so that was sort of like a look at the macrocosmic problem that we're facing in the world, externalities. Now let's take a look at the microcosm, or the internalities of what we deal with in this situation, and how our internal states need to function, change, improve, grow to maintain to create a utopia within our own personal lives. What can you guys touch on as far as your personal developments and how you've been able to use that to create a more free life for yourself and maybe your friends and family?
That's a big question.
Easy questions. Well, I would say that I think we all create our own reality. And so as kind of an interesting thing is that many of the times that we're talking about all these problems, we're actually pretty good. Like, you're okay, I'm okay, you guys are okay, no one's dying right now. Like, I think we kind of focus, whatever we focus on, we actually create. So what I would say is, and I think you mentioned a word, was it oasis or utopia? Here's the thing, there's no utopia. Life is about ups and downs and rounds and rounds, and it's very brightly colored. Someone said that, Bill Hicks. I think we're always going to have problems, but it's how we deal with them. I'm not even sure what the question was exactly. Utopia. But what I would say is, if you're sitting there and you're very worried and you're very fearful about what's going on, you're going to have a bad time. But if you're not, if you can figure out how to not be that way, you will actually create a world around you that won't be all that bad. Like, I could even be in a jail cell at this point. I'd probably smuggle in some drinks, maybe some cigarettes. But I wouldn't be all that bad, because I've started to understand that what you focus on, what you think about, actually becomes reality. So if enough of us start to think about and focus on good ways, good solutions to change the world, we absolutely can. And crypto is a big part of that.
Okay, I think it was about something like that, and personal development, and yeah. Well, as I said in my talk yesterday, life is an emotional mirror, you know, and that's how we create our own reality. And my life was a train wreck up until I realised that. It really was. I mean, I was my own worst enemy for most of my life. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't function. It's because I had a stake in the outcome of everything. You know, and why would you have a stake in the outcome of this life? You're only here for a breath. What do you really care what happens to the human species, really? I mean, I just do what I do because I can see that there's a better way of doing things, and I'm trying to point that out to people. You know, I think there's kind of an easy way out of this if people could just realise the value that they have. You know, and it's realising that personal value in yourself and beginning and learning to love yourself enough to love others unconditionally. Because really there's only one of us here, if you want to look at it that way. You know, it's just one consciousness experiencing itself subjectively, like Bill Hicks said. That's what it's all about. And the thing is, people have a stake in the outcome of everything. And you've got to be able to expect the unexpected, because you don't know what's going to happen. A plane could fall out of the sky and land on this building any minute. We don't know. You wouldn't know. A truck could come barreling through the wall. You just don't know what's going to happen
Like the
next.
Kool-Aid man.
Yeah, you just don't know. Anything could happen, you know. It could be an earthquake. You just don't know what's around the corner. You know, the only thing that's impossible is that which you believe is impossible. And it's those moments of disappointment and all this stuff because you've got a stake in the outcome. And as I said in my talk yesterday, what you've got to be able to do, the trick to getting through life is to be able to face infinity without flinching. It's just all part of the ride. And I've said that same thing. If I was in jail, it's just part of the next chapter. You know, if something happens, it's just part of the next chapter. It's what you do with the information. Because there is no place of enlightenment. There is no area that you're going to get to where you're suddenly sitting on top of a hill wearing robes, all glowing, saying, yes, I got there. The journey is the place. It's what you do with the information along the way. So it's just a matter of processing it. It's sometimes people's failure to process different forms of light because they see that as dark information. That's negative information. All information is light. That's what enlightenment is. It's a breaking down of everything you thought was true, and it's this bringing light to that darkness. It's just people's failure to process certain forms of light. They call it negative. It's simply information. And now you have that information, perhaps you can heal that problem, because you certainly can't heal it without the information to begin with. So, you know, it's just coming to terms with this sort of stuff. That's how I do it anyway. That's my play through this field anyway.
We started this conversation on the subject of crypto, and you mentioned things like social crediting and obviously the mass surveillance that goes on all the time. But at the same time, you know, none of us would probably be here without the internet and, you know, utilizing these technological advancements as well. Like if the internet was created by the Defense Department, this is still a good result of that, you know, no matter how you look at it. So I guess the question is, how do we utilize and how do we view technologies, whether they're cryptocurrency, the internet? How do we walk that tightrope where we get their benefits, we spread our message, we utilize them for all the good that they can bring without becoming vulnerable to I guess, being controlled by these said technologies?
Super easy questions, thank you. Well, sort of like what I said, though, is everything's a double-edged sword. You can use anything for good or for bad. And what is good or bad, right? This is, it's a very funny place that we've been put in here. I don't understand it. It seems very dualistic. Like, for example, if everything was always perfect, if we lived in heaven, we're on the top of the mountain, as you said, we wouldn't even know we were there because there'd be no way to understand it unless we understood that there was something worse, right? So this is a very strange video game that, however you want to describe it, that we're in. If the question is, if you're worried about, oh, crypto's going to enslave us more, only you can enslave yourself. If you feel enslaved, if you feel worried, you've actually created that, in my opinion. However, we do live in this world, and there's a bunch of real fucked up people, sociopaths, whatever you want to call them. They want to control everybody. And if you want to stop that, the way is to use things outside of their control. And in many ways, well, crypto, I'll just say this, crypto came from the cypherpunks. 80s and 90s. You say yes or no? Do you want to say anything about that?
I think we're still investigating a little bit of that. Maybe
Sure. Yeah, I don't.
1995, something like
Yeah,
that.
I'm not sure. I don't, unless I saw it with my own eyes, I don't believe it. However, I know a lot of these cypherpunks. Paul Rosenberg, for example, a lot of you probably don't know him. He's an amazing man. He's going to be speaking in Anarchadelphia. We haven't announced yet, but he was around, and he said it was a bunch of basically anarchists on who, before the internet even existed, knew where this was going, and they said we need to find a way to take the money system and take it away from anyone being able to control it. That's my understanding of it. Now, just like the internet, you know, DARPA was involved. Al Gore created it, sure. There's actually millions of people all doing stuff. But how many people here would say the internet has negatively affected their life or positively? Let's say negative. No one. Positive? Almost everyone, yeah. So even if they created it, if you're what I would consider a good person, we can use it for our own uses. And it would be the same for crypto.
I can understand that. There's the problem, if you look at the social crediting system and how it works, it's not necessarily the technology, it's how we use the technology. There's certain aspects of it. The way we're doing the trade-off between real-world skills for convenience via technology. We're not just using the technology for communication, we're not just using it for making videos and getting the message out and all that sort of stuff. We're using all these little apps to do things for us. We're getting little smart devices. We're getting smart devices to open our homes and open our cars, and we're letting everything go that direction, and we're losing our life skills in that process. And that's where the control aspect of it comes into it. We're being led into this. I'm trying to stop the peas popping. It's because there's no dust cover. It's because of 57. 58's better. 58's better. I'm a sound engineer. This is a good snare drum, Mike. But it's the trade-off between convenience, you know, that we're having with all this smart grid that's going with the technology. You know, it's our willingness to give our general life skills away to the technology that is the problem, and that's how it controls us. Because once it gets to the point that, you know, you've got a smart lock on your car, and people can't even find their way around their own cities anymore without a GPS and without a little map and without all this stuff, you know, and it's all getting moved onto the phone, and then the phone, all your license will be moved onto your phone eventually. So when the cops pull you over for a random breath test, they won't ask to see your license and registration, they'll ask to see your phone. And your phone will have your entire social profile on it. They'll know whether you're a person of interest or not. And the reason that's happening is because we're trading off all our life skills for all this technology, and everyone's glued to these devices. You know, you could still use the crypto, you can still use the internet. The internet's had a positive effect on my life. I wouldn't be here speaking to you without the internet. But it's also, I've seen it, you know, when you look at where it comes from, DARPA and CERN, you know, the original application of it was a military application. What is the internet? The international net. What is the World Wide Web? What do you do with the net? What do you do with the web? You know, you catch things. Why did they make 9/11 so obvious? Why did they start the truth movement? Why do they let us do what we do? Why have they now started bringing in censorship on the internet to turn it into us and them? To segregate everybody so that we can't even get our message out to them anymore, so then we can just start disappearing. And this is happening again because of the way people are giving away their general life skills for these phone apps that are doing all this stuff. And even with the social crediting system, the way it works in China, the way they're bringing it in Darwin and Australia, is they track what apps you're using and where you're using them. That's how they track what you're doing. It's all these little apps and all this stuff. That's the problem. See, like, it's a double-edged sword. The internet's got a lot of huge benefits, but we've got to see this trade-off. We can't give our life skills away. We can't let it go cashless. You know, we can't let it all go digital. We can't allow digital locks. We can't allow I was talking to someone here today, they wanted to show me some information they had, but they didn't have it because it's on the cloud. And they can't access the cloud because they don't have their password or something, whatever, you know. Well, what's it doing on the cloud? What is the cloud? My information's on the cloud, is it? It's not in the filing cabinet over there anymore. It's on the cloud. And if I don't do what I'm told, I get locked out of access to the cloud because I've done the trade-off and put it all through these apps, right? I don't keep it in the filing cabinet anymore. So that's where the problem is. So that's how we use the tech, by just being aware of what we're using the tech for and what aspects of the tech we're using. This is supposed to be a communication system, not a mass convenience system where we can just ask Alexa to deliver the next case of beer in a hookah, you know. This is what we've become, for God's sake, you know. That's what it's all about. Just give me my TV and my hookah and my case of beer, it's all good. It'll go away. The news will tell me Max will fix the world, I'll hold his coat and I'll get the newsletter that it's safe to go outside now. Jeff saved the world, he's introduced crypto, it's all good. I can go back to my fucking slave job and do the same things I was doing every fucking day, because the world's changed now, I never did anything about it, I can still use the tech, you know? And it's dopamine addiction, folks, is how they've done it. It's dopamine addiction, because every time you click an icon, it's a little dopamine release. I know people, they're just scared to put their phones down. And that's how they're leading you into it. They make it convenient, and then they get to the point where they say, okay, well, if you don't do what you're told, we're going to cut you out of this, and you won't be able to access your bank account or your house or your car or a train ticket or a plane ticket or anything, because you were using all of this stuff rather than looking at the map and going there and finding your way yourself and doing all this stuff yourself, you know? So we've got to look at it, folks. It's a fine line how we're being led into this path. So it's just awareness of what. I don't own a smartphone, by the way. I don't own a smartphone. I don't own a credit card. I'm 62 years old and I seem to get through pretty okay. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I think now's a good time to open it up to you guys. Does anybody have any questions they want to ask the two gentlemen? All right. We got Chuck over here. We got a wireless mic coming to you. And here you go, Max. Vocal mic.
Can I get the white wine, by the way?
You guys hear me all right? All right. What are the most exciting projects that you guys are seeing right now that's addressing these problems that you're bringing up?
What do you see? I'm seeing a lot of action in the 5G front. In Australia, I am anyway. I'm seeing a lot of on-the-ground action. 5G and the rollout of the smart grid. People are seeing that it's the health aspects of it. They're seeing the social crediting aspects of it. The problem with 5G is it's a targeted wave. You know, with 4G, it's like the G is generation as well. And you know, with 4G, it's just an ambient wave. But with 5G, it's like you make a phone call, bang, wave goes directly to you. So you're targeted. And when you look at DARPA technology and active denial systems and military-grade technology, and all this is a weapons system. Communication is a side thing. It's a bonus that you can do with this weapons system. But it's basically a weapons system. I'm seeing a lot of action against that in my own community in Australia and around the world. So that's a positive thing, because they need the 5G carrier wave to run the Internet of Things. And the Internet of Things will be checkmate if they manage to put the Internet of Things in place and get 5G up and running everywhere. That will be checkmate for the crypto world, because like I said, it won't matter what the currency is as long as it's digital. That's all they need. So we've got a window here, and we really need to embrace this window. And I'm with Jeff. I'd like to see everybody use crypto right now and embrace this window and pull the rug out from under them before they've got a chance to roll this out. Because if we debate about it for another year or two, it's going to be too late. We've got a very, very short window to turn this around. So I am seeing positive action on it though, with 5G anyway. Jeff?
Is that a proponent? Are you saying you want 5G to roll out?
No, I don't want 5G rolled out. We're stopping it being rolled out. There's a lot of action to stop it in Australia. Oh, absolutely. Like we're seeing it as an assault. We've got great criminal codes. The way we're doing it, we're using the criminal code of each state, find out what constitutes an assault in your state. Because in a normal democratic society, you're entitled to quiet enjoyment in the comfort of your own home. That's what constitutes being a free person, you know, freedom in the pursuit of happiness, you know. So if you can't live in your home in quiet enjoyment of your life because you're in fear of this electronic tower out there that's pumping this signal, well, you're under an assault. And the politician that legislated that telco could put that there is the one who assaulted you. And this is the approach we've been taking, telling the politicians that it's not just going to be the telco, it's going to be you personally who signed off on the legislation allowing this to happen, who will be liable for an assault. And here's a barrister to back up what I just said. And the barrister's going, actually, he's right, and you're fucked. And the politicians are going, well, we'll just deny that application for the telco. And they're stopping the rollout. I mean, they're really pushing. Telstra is still pushing to do it. But, you know, we're pushing back, and there's a big movement to stop it. So,
Yeah, I believe that there's definitely a nefarious force here that is trying to kill most people.
that's comforting. Just break it to them gently.
It's happening.
Just
However,
break it to them gently, you know.
Well, you got to say what's happening, right? And, you know, you look at Georgia Guidestones, reduce the world population by 95%. Vaccines, fluoridization, chemtrails, taking away the nutrition, big pharma. It's obvious. But we don't have to be a part of that. You know, in some ways, I have to say, well, I have two things to say. One is, if you thought I was going to argue with Max, you're wrong. Max is totally right on everything he said. I might have some different viewpoints on maybe how we can use these technologies to do different things, but in general, I've almost come to the point where if there was a bar and some cute girls in the forest, I would just go live in the forest at this point. And I say that because I've started to realize that all these external things, and actually I'm just joking about the bar and the cute girl, well, the bar. But all these external things can never make you completely happy like you can actually do to yourself. So as much as, for some reason, we're here on this prison planet, as Alex Jones might say, and as Max talks about all the time, and he's right, we can still be pretty good. If there's anything that they can ever take away from you, then you've already lost. What I've learned in the last few years is if you just understand, that's a funny word, by the way. That's what the police always say. They go, do you understand? It's actually a magic trick. They say, do you stand under me? And if you say yes, then you go to the rape camps. And if you say no, you don't. But what I've started to understand is the most happiness, the best things actually are not anything external. However, we do live in a place and we care about a lot of people, and I do. I care about a lot of people. And I don't understand why we're here, but we can totally fuck this system up. We can. It's not even that hard. Just hit like on some videos some fucking times, man. Like really, it's human action. As Mises said, there's not enough people actually doing something. And it could be just hitting like on a video. How many likes do you get on yours? Like probably like 10%, 5% of the viewers? Yeah, so what are the rest of the 90% doing? Yeah. They won't even hit like. Yeah. Well, they just decided how they want the world to be. Everyone has power. Everyone. So if you want this place to be good, it's as easy as clicking like, getting involved, speaking out. And if we don't, it's not going to be so good.
Awesome. Do we have another question from the audience? Hey.
I actually want to slightly push back on something that you said, Jeff. And by push back, I really want to, I just want to examine it. You made this statement that you believe, and I think a lot of people who here also believe, that there's some sort of nefarious force that's, trying to do harm to humanity. I personally am conflicted, and I go back and forth in my beliefs in this, and whether that nefarious force is some sort of globalist, Illuminati, conspiracy, whatever you want to call it, or if it's just human nature. I mean, it's very, you name some things like, that from Big Pharma or whatever that seem to be evidence of that, and that could be, but it could also be evidence of just the selfishness and, non-compassion of man to his fellow man. So, I don't know, how do you, I just want you to justify that point, or maybe just examine it a little bit, because it's kind of, I don't know, you can kind of draw answers from things sometimes. Not you, just we all can. And I want to make sure that sometimes our echo chamber, we kind of take certain things as a matter of fact without maybe discussing them a little further. So, was that too convoluted of a question? A little bit?
So many easy questions. Thank you so much. What is the meaning of life?
42.
You want answers? Do you have any? Well, I think I kind of just said it, right? My belief at this moment in time, and I could be crazy as hell, is we make of this world what we want to make of this world. And you mentioned the dark side and the light side. In my opinion, this whole Satan and God sort of thing, I think Satan's sort of the ego, and God is sort of realizing you're not just this vessel. I could be totally wrong. We might all end up in concentration camps in like 2 years. But if I'm there, I'll be okay. I think for some reason, let's think about this, right? I'll just mention this. If you were an incredibly intelligent being, like a god or a creator of something, that could create entire worlds, what would you do? I'd probably create something like this, with all the bad guys, all the good guys, you got all your internal struggles, you're all fucked up. And if you look at every single person here has a movie, it's called your life. And if you watch it all, and it's like really well directed, it would be such an awesome movie. There's no one here, I'm sure. Has anyone not have anything fucked up happen to them? Yeah. My belief, and I could be crazy as hell, is we're all here to sort of create a movie. But, as I always say, if I'm in this movie, I want to take down those bad guys really bad. Really bad.
Yeah, like, is there a nefarious force or is it us? Is the issue? You know, I mean, a lot of it is us, but a lot of it is due to programming. You can't look at the complexity of the system and not realize that there's something behind it that's been there for a very long time, that's put a certain plan into motion, and all they had to really do was interject the economic system. And it really, when you look at it, I mean, you can get religious about it if you want to, but I can look at all of that as allegorical as well, like I was talking about in my talk with the scrying mirrors and all that sort of stuff. You know, the metaphorical biting of the apple. As soon as you need that information, why do you need it? Why do you need to know all this stuff that you think you need to know? What do you need to know what the stars are made of for? Just enjoy the stars. What do you need to know how old the tree is? You know, we chop it down so we can measure the rings. Well, now you don't have the tree to sit under. Why didn't you just enjoy the freaking tree? You know? We do all this stuff, you know. As soon as we start tearing the earth apart to find out what it's made of, we cease to love it. And we left the path of wisdom. And we started to value information and knowledge over wisdom. You know, so that metaphorical biting of the apple leads to we want to know more and more and more and more about all this stuff. When we get all this information, what do we do with it? You know, and the need for that information creates a need for automation, which creates a need for a monetary system, which creates a need for the internet, which creates a need for all this shit that we've created. So yeah, we create it. It's the moment we stepped off that path of wisdom and started to value knowledge over wisdom. So is there a nefarious force? Is it us? Do we manifest it ourselves? Is this a cyclic thing? Is there human consciousness simply trapped in this loop? And like I was alluding to yesterday, are these scrying mirrors and all these things, all these sigils and all these messages left there to warn us of what happens? We get to the end of the cycle and we give all our power to this system. It takes everything away from us and just leaves us and we get cold and they start again. We've got to get out of that loop. So is there a controlling hand? I mean, maybe. Are they bad or is it us? Maybe. You know, the problem is with wanting to know who they are is that I can prove it's anybody you want. You tell me who you want to blame, whether it's the Jesuits or the Jews or the Freemasons or aliens or whoever, and give me 2 days, I'll prepare a slideshow to convince you that you're completely correct. Because all the information is put out there for me to do that, which is exactly why it's been put out there. Because the truth is we don't know what the truth is. So yeah, we create a lot of this ourselves due to our participation in it, by us stepping outside our moral compass, our tolerance of wrong behaviour, as Marx has tried to drum into people for the last 10 years. You know, it's that simple decision in our mind. You know what's right, you know what's wrong. You don't need anyone to define it for you. Give me a break, you know. We all know what we're fucking doing, but we do it anyway. You know, when you can look at this place as a maybe this is even a test, a soul harvest, and like I said yesterday, it's about how you die, it's about the decision you make. How much are you prepared to be pushed before you say, no, fuck you, I'm not going to do this shit anymore. I have value, I'm going to do something else. I'm actually going to be a nice person and look at this experience and just live my life in the wonderment of life. Life is so freaking awesome, folks. Just how can you not be in awe just at the fact that we can be, this is a single consciousness interacting, and look outside of the trees and the shit and just look at this stuff. Look what we've got. How can you not be in complete awe every moment of every day? Just the fact that you're alive. Where's the problem? You know, so yeah, I think we do a lot of it ourselves, but yeah, and again, I think there is a controlling hand, but even is that us or is that the AI already? Like I said, I can prove it's anyone you want, you know, but you know, ultimately it's down to the choices we make and the moral compass that we choose to allow to aim us.
Wow, that was awesome. I love you, Max.
I love you too, brother.
we have another question in the audience? Right here, front row.
Great debate, right? I love these anarchist debates.
I fucking hate you, man. Like
Yeah,
you're so
fucking
wrong,
Max.
you know? You're so wrong. You fool.
I'm going to answer a question that you asked, Jeff, and that's going to lead me to my question for you both. You asked, why don't people put likes on your videos? Because we're not logged in. All right? There's a lot of people that are scared to speak the truth. There's a lot of people who will speak with close company, but it's just like, Nazi Germany or something else like this, where you have a trusted relationship with someone that you will slowly feed some information into it to see how they react. You spoon feed that. That's how a lot of people I've met in these audiences have been. You guys have taken a different tact. You are the front and center of so much of this stuff. I mean, we talk about, Anarchadelphia or Anarchadelphia. I mean, these are named after your creation. And you are always on video. I mean, I've listened to your blogs many times. So what keeps you guys out front and center? What gives you the strength to step out into limelight, to harm's way perhaps? Give us some perspective of how we should be changing ourselves to not just click a like button, but to really take the next step and be you guys.
This world will change the moment you guys stop having fear. Or hope. What's stopping you from saying your truth? I know what it is. It's the 12 years of government indoctrination camps, 30 years of watching that television programming. When you guys, and a lot of you already have, but anyone watching, when you wake up, it's over. It's fucking over. That's it.
Yeah, look, I just do it because it needs to be done. And I didn't really have a choice. You don't step onto the path of activism or become a dissenter as a career path. It isn't a good choice, not a good move, folks, if that's what you want to do as a career. But yeah, it's having no stake in the outcome. I live by a philosophy that if you throw yourself to the wind, you can ride it. And I didn't ever plan to do what I'm doing. When I started doing this, I didn't even put my face out there for 4 years. I didn't want anyone to know what I looked like. It wasn't about that, because I never wanted it to be about me. Because, people look at you as some celebrity or something that's going to change the world for them. It's simply the message. And really, all I've said since the beginning is, listen, the world's run by criminals, folks, and we don't have to do this shit. And I've tried to find a million different ways to say that in the hope that I'll reach more and more people to the fact that we don't actually have to do any of this stuff. It's just an idea someone had. And we all went, right, we better do that, no problem. Yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir. Somehow we got tricked into that. So yeah, I just do this because it needs to be done. No stake in the outcome. Like I said, it's all part of the journey. I came here to die, it's a given. I'm going to die at some stage. It's just how I do that. Hey man, I crawled into the tunnels into Gaza because I wanted to have a look. I don't really do fear. It's not part of my vocabulary. So, and that's how they control us, is the fear, our belief in authority. And it's all terrorism. It's because that's what the scholastic system is based in, is based in terrorism. Terrorism, the original definition of terrorism, if you look at the old dictionaries, it's violence or the threat of violence carried out against civilians as a means of coercion. So anything you're coerced into doing under threat of punishment, that's called terrorism. And that describes the entire scholastic system. So you ever, like Jeff said, 12 years of that shit. Fear, 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 fear. Don't fucking think for yourself. Don't say, and most people's biggest fear is public speaking. Most people would prefer to die than have to do public speaking. It's bizarre. I spent my life on stage playing rock and roll guitaring and shit, so I've kind of really used to people. But like I said, I never planned on doing this. But life took everything away from me. It gave me all the skills I needed and all the information I needed to do this, and then it took everything else away from me and didn't give me any other choice. So here I am. Deal with it. You got to put up with it. I'm good.
Yeah, I like putting up with it. I love your show.
Is there anyone else in the audience with something they'd like to ask the two gentlemen?
I'll ask them a question.
Oh, all right, get Ken Bozak the mic, son. Over
I
here.
think we were getting a wind up before too, were we, or were we good? Oh, we're good. Okay, cool. It's Woods go for hour. We can do this. Forever's a long time.
Indica or sativa? No. Just wanted to give them an easy one.
Sativa.
There we go.
Oh no, indica.
I like indica, yeah.
I just started with my
Indica.
coffee enemas. It's fucking awesome.
Okay.
Dude, you haven't done coffee enema?
I'm gonna have to try with you one day. My question is, we're here at an anarchist event talking about anarchy, cryptocurrency. I want to know, where do you see those roads and bridges meeting, and where is the similarity? Basically, events like this are tuning forks. One solid single wavelength coming from two sides of one instrument, anarchy, crypto. What does that frequency look like to you, and why does it resonate with each side so well?
You clearly smoke weed with that question.
It's all part of the same thing. I mean, crypto could provide anarchy. Anarchy being self-governance, which is what it's supposed to be. So it's all part of this. It's not really two different things. But like I said, there's a limited window for that. The problem is people aren't educated enough to understand what true anarchy is. They're not educated enough to govern themselves. We need a transitional period. But what does that look like? It's just a. But I don't think they're coming from two opposite things. I think they're complementing each other, or have the ability to complement each other anyway.
The one thing I want to say, because I've heard this, people going, well, crypto is part of the New World Order. It's CIA and all that. Like I said earlier, the internet there was some DARPA, there was some CERN, there was some status involved, obviously, most of them actually. But what have we turned it into, right? And it's the same with crypto. And actually, Bitcoin has been a bit co-opted. This is a battle. Maybe I create it in my own mind, but I'm in a war, but we're also creating other things. And I would say again, Monero, whatever they do, we could. It's like almost. This is life, right? It's like they go so extreme, we'll go so extreme. But anyone who says that crypto in general is a completely statist, collectivist, satanic thing doesn't know crypto. Just like everyone put up their hands when I said if the internet has helped your life. It's totally helped my life. Well, I'm not sure if it's helped my life, but it makes my life more convenient. Truly, the only thing that helps my life is I see my dogs, I see their beautiful eyes, I see my daughter, my wife, good people like Max. We really don't need any of this technology. We don't. But it's cool, whatever. If they're going to try to fuck us all, we'll use it the other way.
I have just one closing question for you guys. You can get up here for a while. I like to ask this to anyone who describes himself as an anarchist. And this is to both of you. If you had a magic button in front of you right now, and you could press it and end all governments as you know it, and that means in any way, shape, or form, from the military to municipal trash collection, would you do it? Why or why not?
I'll answer really quickly. No, I wouldn't do it just because it's not about. Because a lot of those things you said, trash collection. That's funny, like even roads. It's so funny when people go, "What about the roads? If we get rid of government?" It's like, do they disappear? Do they just go away? It's a conscious thing. And we could, if there was a button right there, Donald Trump, Barack Obama, Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Rumsfeld, Dick Cheney, I wouldn't do it. Because I'm not violent. But I also we just blow them up. If not enough people wake up, they'll just create another one. It's about awakening people to what's really going on. That's the funny thing about anarchy. We're all anarchists here. We're at Anarchadelphia. Most of your people on the street think we want to throw Molotov cocktails and kill people. We believe in peace and love. We will never, and I know the sort of anarchist movement, so to speak, like the punk movement, they're like, burn it down, burn it down. Yeah, burn it down, but they'll just rebuild it again. We have to enlighten people. So no, I wouldn't press the button. I would never enforce anything on anyone.
Press the button.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't press the button either because, unfortunately, a lot of people aren't ready for self-governance. They're simply not educated enough or competent enough to govern themselves. And the thing with government is just an idea. It isn't real. It only exists in books. You know, the government is a building where people go and they do what it says in the books. You know, people think, oh, the government's coming to get me, or the town hall's going to get up and march over and eat your house. You know, it doesn't exist. It's just an idea. It's a concept. And the moment people understand it's just a concept, it disappears. It only has that power because we give it that power. So, you know, while people out there believe that they need someone to tell them what to do, we need them, you know, that they're not capable of governing themselves. That's the thing. You know, government is simply racketeering. But like you said, people say, well, what about the roads, what about the garbage? The government didn't build the roads. You don't see politicians out there building roads. They just don't do that shit. Those roads were built by companies, and they're already doing that shit. Then the government said, hey, look what you guys are doing. You got to give us a cut, and you got to build it our way. And everybody who uses it has got to give us a cut for using it. It's classic racketeering. That's all it is. It's racketeering. They go and co-opt all the stuff that we do for society, and they say, okay, we're going to dictate how you do all this shit that you do, and you all got to give me a cut for doing it. And then all you people who use all the stuff they built, they've got to pay me some taxes for using the stuff that you built, because I'm the government, okay? You voted for me, and you're doing things my way now. It's racketeering. And if you don't do it, I'm going to send Jeff around to put you in a cage. And you can pay protection money to,
I'm not
to
gonna
this
do that.
guy.
What are you talking about?
This guy, you know, the taxes, he's a tax collector. He's going to go and you pay protection money to him so I don't send Jeff around to put you in a cage. That's me being government. That's all it fucking is, folks. It's racketeering. And we need people to wake up to that simple fact that that's what government is. You know, and what we've got here, and what they do is they play everybody off against each other and all the countries off against each other. We think that they're all off. It's all one group. It's all one big crime family, multinational, multi-generational criminal cabal masquerading as different governments. And the guys from Iran and the guys from America say, we're going to war now, letting you all know we're going to war now, so you guys are going to go and bomb you guys. Now we're not at war now, we'll shake hands. Now you can all go and rebuild all your countries again. It's a fucking scam. The whole thing's one big scam. It's racketeering just to keep everybody in line while they bring in this little smart system and move us all into this whole AI grid they want to do. So, no, I wouldn't do it because the whole thing's a fiction. There is no button that you can press to make people just go, oh shit, I don't have to do this anymore. I've just realized, who the fuck are you people? You know, someone comes and tells you to walk between the lines, no problem, but just for a moment, who the fuck are you? You know, we never asked that, so, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Berwick and Max Igan.